The ancient Stoics were experts at understanding human emotions and behavior. Despite not explicitly addressing romantic relationships in their writings, their concepts of self-control, emotional discipline, and interpreting human behavior remain as relevant today as they were hundreds of years ago. The Stoics knew that emotions drive most of our decisions, and they practiced managing them to gain power over themselves and others. In today's episode, we'll talk about how you can use these same ideas to make women miss you even if they weren't interested at first. The key is emotional mastery and the subtle psychological moves you make. I assure you that if you adhere to these 7 effective steps, women will reciprocate. When you don't contact a woman, she will start to think about you, wonder what you're doing, and miss you deeply. Make sure you watch the whole video, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Tell us about your experience in the comments. We'd love to hear. Let's start with the first chapter. Chapter 1. Don't contact her. It may seem counterintuitive, but this is the best way to make a woman miss you. You're not trying to play games with her feelings. You're just creating space that will make her curious and longing. People value things more when they can't get to them all the time. If you're constantly present, whether through text or phone calls, you become a part of her routine, which, while comforting, can also be quite monotonous. By calling back, you change the dynamic. Stoics were ancient people who believed in controlling their impulses and emotional discipline. They never let themselves be overly reactive to outside situations, choosing instead to stay calm and detached. In the same way, avoid constantly contacting her. The more you give her attention, the more she takes it for granted. But when you go back, you create a space where she starts to notice your absence. Here's the intriguing part. Even if she wasn't interested in you to begin with, your absence makes her think about the situation again. She begins to question why you stopped texting, calling, or engaging with her, and she may even begin to question if her initial feelings about you were misinterpreted. She will recognize the void you've left behind when you're no longer around. Most men make the mistake of being too available. They think that they need to talk to a woman all the time to keep her interested. But this is where the Stoic philosophy of restraint comes in. By not reaching out, you show her that you're not emotionally dependent on her response or validation. You have your own life to live, and you're not going to drop everything to chase after her. However, consistency is key here. If you cease communication for a day or two and then abruptly return with a text explaining your silence, you will lose all the progress you've made towards true detachment. True mastery of this tactic means embracing the silence without explanation. You don't owe her a reason for not contacting her. The more she wonders why you're distant, the more she'll begin to miss the attention she once took for granted. Imagine this. She checks her phone, anticipating a familiar message from you, but nothing appears. Days pass, and she begins to question herself. Why haven't you reached out? Have I done something wrong? The more she overthinks it, the more she becomes emotionally invested. And here's the beauty of it. She's thinking about you more when you're not contacting her than when you were constantly in her inbox. This tactic is so effective because it forces her to confront her feelings. Even if she wasn't initially interested, the space you created will make her question her previous disinterest. You pulled the rug out from under her expectations, and now she's left trying to understand why she misses. She'll start to question whether she misread your cues or if she's no longer in charge of the situation. The longer you keep this distance, the stronger her feelings will become. In this situation, her longing for you will intensify despite her initial lack of interest in you. She'll feel like she has to figure out why you've gone quiet, and in her efforts, she'll find herself thinking about you a lot more than she did when you were readily available. Another thing to think about is how this affects her view of you. When you're not constantly trying to get her attention, you give off an air of confidence and self-assurance that is clearly attractive. You don't need her approval or encouragement, which sets you apart from most men who can't seem to stop chatting. By not being there, you show her that you value her time and don't need constant interaction to feel valued. This sense of independence is very strong. The Stoics believed in letting go of the need for external validation and instead focusing on inner strength and self-control. By not contacting her, you're practicing this very principle. You're demonstrating emotional discipline and self-respect. You're not allowing your need for connection to drive your behavior, and that restraint is incredibly attractive to women. It shows that you're in control, that you have your own life, and that you don't need her to feel complete. Of course, this doesn't mean ignoring her forever. At some point, she'll be out curious as to why you've disappeared, and when she does, you sifted the dynamic. Now she's the one initiating contact, and that gives you the upper hand. You've successfully created a situation where she misses you, even if she didn't initially care, and now she's more invested in the interaction on before. In conclusion, don't underestimate the power of silence by not contacting her. You create a space that allows her to reflect on her feelings and realize what she's missing. You're no longer just a guy she talks to. You become the guy she's thinking about. And that's the first step in making her miss you badly. Even if she wasn't interested at first. Chapter 2. Show her you're still living your life. One of the most critical things to do when trying to make a woman miss you is to show her that you're still living your life without her. The moment you stop chasing her and instead focus on your own goals, passions, and social life, she'll start to notice. Women are drawn to men who have a purpose, who are active and engaged in their own lives. When you show that you're fulfilled without her, she'll begin to wonder what's keeping you so busy. This creates a sense of mystery and intrigue, which in turn makes her miss you more. Think about the Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius. Even though he was a Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men in the world, he stressed the importance of focusing on your own journey, no matter what other people said or did. In modern terms, this means not putting your life on hold for anyone, especially a woman. Instead, you should focus on your career, hobbies, and friendships. You send a strong message. It's possible that while she's asking why you haven't texted or called, she's looking at your social media and seeing that you're having fun with friends, working out, or accomplishing your goals. You aren't just waiting for her to send you attention, you're too busy making yourself better than you were yesterday. This approach resonates deeply due to its honesty. This method taps into one of our deepest fears. When a woman sees that you're still living your life even though she's not there, she starts to feel the pressure that you're putting on her to accept that you're fine without her. This can often be difficult for her to accept, as she harbors fears of missing out, worries about being forgotten, and hungers for the possibility that you might move on to someone else. Here's where a lot of men go wrong. They think that by cutting off contact and showing that they're living their life, they need to rub it in her face, but that's not how you play the game. Don't brag or flaunt your lifestyle too much. Keep it subtle. Post pictures of you hanging out with friends, enjoying a new hobby, or even just relaxing with a favorite book. Let her see glimpses of your life without her, and she'll want to be a part of it. The best part, this tactic, works whether she was interested in you initially or not, even if she wasn't attracted to you before seeing you live a fulfilling, independent life. Spots a new kind of curiosity. She starts to wonder why you're so content without her. Why are you not chasing after her like every other guy? Why are you so at peace with yourself? And in trying to answer these questions, she'll find herself thinking about you more and more. The Stoics believed in the power of inner fulfillment, And this is what you're demonstrating when you show her that you're living your life by not being desperate for her attention. You prove that your happiness doesn't depend on her. This makes you incredibly attractive, as it goes against the grain of what most women are used to. They're used to men clamoring for their attention, trying to impress them and altering their lives just to get a moment of their time. You, on the other hand, are showing that your time is valuable and that your life is much with or without her in it. The key here is consistency. You can't just act like you're living your life for a few days and then fall back into the trap of chasing her. You have to fully embrace this mindset, because it's not just a tactic. It's a lifestyle. Once you truly internalize this idea of self-sufficiency, it will become second nature, and she'll sense that you're genuinely content. That's when the tables turn, and she starts to feel the distance between you. When she reaches out, and she will eventually, you'll be in a position of strength. You won't need to drop everything to respond to her. You've already shown her that your life is moving forward with or without her attention, and the longer she watches you thrive from a distance, the more she'll start to miss you, even if she didn't care before. She'll begin to feel a sense of loss, because she knows that you're living a life that doesn't revolve around her, and in the end, one of the best ways to make her miss you is to show her that you're still living your life. Instead of waiting for her to text back, you're building your empire. As the Stoic said, true strength comes from within, not from external validation. When you show her that you're still living your life, she'll feel it and miss you. Chapter 3. Don't fall for the attention trap. Women are experts at quietly trying to get your attention, whether it's through a well-placed social media post or a text that seems harmless. These subtle cues often aim to refocus your attention, but here's a daring revelation. Women naturally want things they can't have, so resisting this bait gives you more control. When a woman becomes accustomed to men responding to her every action, she perceives it as a game she can effortlessly manage. But when you don't react, when you refuse to give her the validation she's fishing for, she starts to realize she doesn't have control over you, and that's when she starts to miss you. If you don't give in to temptation and stay calm and collected, you shift the power dynamic. She is suddenly forced to reassess her perception of you. Why aren't you reacting like everyone else? Why isn't he succumbing to the temptation of seeking my approval or validation? This creates a sense of mystery or a challenge that she's eager to figure out. She posts a picture to attract your attention, or sends a casual text to gauge the situation, exemplifying the Stoic wisdom of not allowing external forces to influence you. Don't reply right away, or at least don't respond right away. Let her wonder. The longer she goes without hearing from you, the more she will begin to wonder what's going on, and that's when she will start to miss you. Men often seek validation from women, eagerly responding to every message or post. However, when you choose to ignore her, you are fundamentally altering the dynamics of the relationship. Now, it's her turn to seek validation from you. She begins to question whether you've lost interest, moved on, or worse, found someone else. This uncertainty starts to eat away at her, making her think about you more often than she probably expected to. By refusing to give in to her attention-seeking habits, you're actually giving her what she wants. You're giving her a beneficial lesson about not having enough. Once she realizes she can't always have you at her disposal, she will begin to value your time and attention much more. The Stoics knew how important it was to resist impulses, especially those that try to control your emotions. Not only will you save your own emotional energy, but she'll also see that you're different from other people who fawn over her. Although she may not realize she's baiting you, the move is still sneaky. It could be a selfie with friends at a party, or a text saying something like, "Just thought of you" or "Missed your face today." While these may seem innocuous on the surface, they're subtle hooks designed to to gauge your interest by responding right away or too eagerly. You're handing over your power and showing her that you're available at her command. But when you hold back, something incredible happens. Her curiosity grows. She'll start thinking about why you didn't respond, or why you didn't acknowledge that selfie. What's going on in your life? That's more important than giving her attention. Is there someone else occupying your thoughts? These questions will run through her mind, and before she realizes it, she's thinking about you constantly. And when someone is thinking about you, they begin to miss you, even if they didn't have strong feelings to fall. This method of holding back may feel uncomfortable at first. After all, it's natural to want to reciprocate attention when it's given, but the Stoics would argue that the ability to resist temptation to control your impulses is a sign of strength and self-mastery. By not giving in to the attention bait, you're showing her and yourself that you are not someone who can be easily manipulated or swayed. You're in control of your emotions and your actions, and that's AM quality. The main idea behind this strategy is that it works on a subconscious level. She might not understand why she's suddenly thinking about you more, but it's because you're breaking the cycle of constant validation. You've created a gap, a silence, and in that space, her mind begins to fill in the missing pieces. The longer you hold back, the stronger that set becomes, and eventually she'll find herself reaching out more and trying harder to get your attention. Now that you're in control, all it took was a little emotional discipline, something the Stoics excelled at. Therefore, the next time you receive a seemingly harmless text or social media post, remember that the more you resist, the more she will miss you. This isn't a game. It's about practicing self-control and letting her see how valuable you are by your absence. She'll start to wonder why she hasn't heard from you, and that's when you'll know you're in her mind. She will miss the attention, she will miss your presence, and eventually she will miss you completely. Part 4. Or don't be in a hurry. Be vague. When it's time to get in touch, you shouldn't seem too eager or excited. In fact, the less eager you seem, the better. This is where being vague really shines. Don't feel like you have to share every detail right away. Because people, especially women, are drawn to things they don't understand, it's best not to tell people what you've been doing, with whom, or about. It's a psychological trap. If you withhold information, she's more inclined to fill in the gaps with her own imagination, frequently creating an idealized version of you in her mind. In Infinite Wisdom, the Stoics asserted that mastering silence and minimalism, understanding that not every thought or emotion requires expression, was a sign of true strength. When you finally talk to her, tell her just enough to keep her interested, but not so much that she thinks she knows everything about you. Being vague maintains a sense of wonder, which can make you attractive. If she asks you what you've been doing, don't give her a detailed account of your weekend. Instead, say something like, "I've been busy," and then change the subject. This will leave her thinking about what he's been doing and who he's been with. She'll be curious about you after the conversation, making her think about you more than if you gave her all the answers. More often than not, her desire to know results in increased interest, and ultimately, a sense of missing you. Being V doesn't mean giving up or calling her names. It means controlling the flow of information so that you give her just enough to keep her interested, but not so much that she's happy. If you provide her with a small taste of something delicious, she will desire the entire dish. During the waiting period, she will begin to miss you, even if she did not previously believe that she was that interested. Please remember that eagerness can be a turn-off. If you're too excited to talk to her or share every detail of your life, it can seem like you're trying to get her approval or attention, which is the exact opposite of what you want. Being vague and keeping your emotions in check demonstrates your control over the conversation, your emotions, and your overall life, which is highly appealing. Stoics would have seen this restraint as an extension of their philosophy of self-control. They knew that true power comes from being able to control one's own wants and needs. By not telling Ming everything, you're showing that you have inner strength and don't need outside approval to feel good about yourself, which is exactly what will make her miss you. She'll see that you're not like other guys who are desperate for her attention. You're unique, in charge, sure of yourself, and most importantly, mysterious. After thinking about you this way, she'll want to know more about you to discover the parts of your life you're hiding. Once she starts thinking about you and wondering what you're doing, she'll miss you even if she wasn't interested before. This sense of mystery will make her feel drawn to you, and she'll start to imagine what her life could be like with someone as intriguing and calm as you. That's when you've really caught her attention. Chapter 5. Make people envious. It's not about playing mind games, but a little jealousy can go a long way in making a woman miss you. That doesn't mean you should make her feel bad or insecure, but show her you have others in your life. When a woman realizes that she's not your sole focus, it makes her feel like she's competing for your attention, which makes her want you even more. Women, whether they admit it or not, have a natural instinct to want to compete for the attention of high-value men. When she sees that other women, or just people in general, value your time and enjoy being around you, she realizes that she's not your entire world. This is crucial because it helps her realize that she's not the only person in your life. Reducing the availability of her time and attention will help her realize its value. The Stoics were all about emotional indifference, not letting outside factors, like other people's thoughts or actions, affect your inner self. Instead of being manipulative or playing games, creating a little jealousy shows that you don't care about her approval. You have your own life and circle. When she observes your life without her and the attraction of others to you, she may feel compelled to take immediate action. In a subtle way, you can make her feel jealous by mentioning that you've been spending time with friends or on an adventure without going into too much detail. If she asks more questions, keep your answers vague, as we talked about earlier. The goal is to show her that your life isn't all about her. When she sees that other people, especially other women, are a part of yours, it makes her less competitive, and she'll work hard to get your attention. This move resonates with a fundamental desire of women to feel special, as if they are the only ones receiving your attention. However, when they come to terms with the possibility of losing your attention to someone else, it fills them with profound sadness. She will begin to think about you more frequently and question why you're not focusing on her, leading to a growing sense of longing for you. The Stoics believed that emotional detachment was the key to maintaining inner peace. By not obsessing over any one person or outcome, they were able to stay grounded and in control. In your case, by not being overly eager or available, and by allowing a little jealousy to creep in, you're practicing that same emotional detachment. You're showing that you're not desperate for her approval or attention, and that's what will make her want you even more. You should cultivate jealousy in a healthy and respectful manner, not to manipulate her emotions or make her feel bad, but to demonstrate to her that you are a man with options. As a man who values himself and his time, when she realizes that you're not waiting around for her and that other people find you attractive and interesting, she will start to see you in a new light. At that point, she will start to miss you because she will realize that she's not the only one vying for your attention, and you want to win it more than ever. You can easily captivate her, and that is what will cause her to miss you, even if she was initially uninterested. The Stoics knew the power of lack and emotional independence. If you follow these rules, women will start to miss you without you having to do anything. Her nicknames may seem trivial, but they carry an incredible amount of psychological weight. When you give a woman a unique nickname, you're creating a personal connection that no one else shares with her. It's a subtle form of intimacy that doesn't require grand gestures, but works deeply in her subconscious. The Stoics understood that relationships are built on personal bonds, and using a special nickname is a quiet way to show that you see her in a way no one else does. Why does this make her miss you? Because every time she hears that nickname, whether it's from you or someone else, it will remind her of you. The name becomes associated with the emotional connection the two of you share. It's almost as if you've created a private language that only the two of you speak, and once you've called back and created distance, she'll miss that special connection. She'll start to realize that no one else has the kind of rapport with her, and that thought alone will make her miss the time she spent with you. But here's the twist: when you give her a nickname, don't overuse it. If you call her by this nickname all the time, it loses its power and charm. Instead, casually and statically drop the nickname, allowing it to carry weight when spoken. The more you use it deliberately, the more she remembers it. She'll associate it with your connection with her and long to hear it again when you're not around. There's a subtle psychological trick at play here. By using a nickname, you're marking her as someone in your inner circle. When you pull away and stop using the nickname for a while, she'll start to miss that feeling of being singled out and having a special bond with you that no one else can copy. This strategy can be especially effective if you combine it with the silence you've created by not contacting her. She's already missing your attention, but now she's also missing the nickname that made her feel special, even if she wasn't interested in you before. The nickname adds emotional depth to your relationship. It makes her realize that there's something about you that she can't get anywhere else, and that realization will make her miss you more than she ever thought possible. A well-chosen nickname is a wonderful example of this. It's a small thing, but when used correctly, it can create an emotional bond that's difficult to break. When you combine that bond with your newfound emotional distance, you set the stage for her to miss you on a much deeper level. Remember, it's not about manipulating her. It's about creating a connection she values. When she feels that connection, even when you're not around, she will miss the emotional closeness that your nickname symbolizes. The seventh, teach her something new. One of the most effective ways to make a lasting impact on a woman, especially if she's not initially interested, is to teach her something new. It could be anything, either a skill, a new way of thinking, or even introducing her to a book, hobby, or philosophy she's never considered before. When you become the person who opens her mind to new ideas and experiences, you leave a mark that lingers long after you stopped contacting her. The Stoics believed that the path to growth and enlightenment comes from learning and self-improvement, and you can embody this principle by becoming her teacher in some way. Why does this work so well? Because learning something from someone creates a bond. People naturally feel a connection to those who've taught them something valuable, whether it's practical or emotional. When you're the person who introduces her to new perspectives, you become memorable. She'll associate the new experience or knowledge with you, and even when you're not around, she'll think of you every time she uses that skill or remembers that idea. But there's more to it than just teaching her something useful. It's also about challenging her to think differently. Women appreciate men who can stimulate their minds as much as their emotions by encouraging her to look at the world through a new lens. You elevate yourself above the typical guys she encounters. You're not just another person texting her compliments or asking her out. You're someone who enriches her life, who makes her think, and who adds value in ways she didn't expect. Imagine you teach her something as simple as a new cooking technique, or you introduce her to Stoic philosophy itself. Every time she cooks the dish or read a quote from Marcus Aurelius, she'll think of you. The learning process becomes tied to her memories of you, and those memories will keep resurfacing, making her miss you more than if you had simply been another guy chasing her for attention. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Once you've taught her something, you call back. You don't hover over her constantly checking in to see if she's practicing what you've taught her. You let her absorb it on her own. The Stoics were all about self-reliance, and by giving her the tools to learn something new and then stepping back, you're showing her that you trust her to grow. Independently, this creates a sense of respect and admiration for you. She'll miss your presence because you've become a key figure in her personal development, not just someone who's looking for validation. The final twist in this tactic is the emotional bond that forms from shared experiences. When you teach her something, you're creating a moment that belongs only to the two of you. Even as she tries to push you out of her mind, she'll keep coming back to that moment, remembering how you made her feel both challenged and enlightened, and that's a feeling she won't easily forget. The Stoics knew that real strength comes from within, and when you teach a woman something new, you're helping her build that inner strength, but at the same time, you're ensuring that you remain a part of her journey even when you're not physically or emotionally present. That's the key to making her miss you. Even if she wasn't initially interested, you've made yourself irreplaceable in her growth and learning by not contacting her, showing her that you're living your life, resisting her attention bait, being vague, creating jealousy, using nicknames, and teaching her something new. You're practicing the art of stud. She will constantly think of you, but you won't be chasing after her. Instead, you'll be a man who controls his emotions, time, and life. These 7 strategies aren't about manipulating people. They're about understanding how people think and using that knowledge to your advantage. Stoics were good at this, and you can be too. Keep these rules in mind, and women who weren't interested in you will miss your attention, mystery, and worth. That's the power of Stoic attraction.